Settlers traveling west in search of a new life had to be tough to survive life on the open prairie. If the journey itself wasn't enough, upon arrival, settlers faced bad weather, insect infestations, and a lack of supplies. This group of pioneers was tough, but they were also smart. They recognized the importance that water played in their survival on the open prairie. That is why they settled here, next to the Loup River. To the early settlers, the Loup River provided drinking water, and the timber along its banks was used for building and heating early homes of the area. For many years, the residents of Columbus tossed around ideas as to how they could better utilize the waters of the Loup River. By the turn of the century, crops were being irrigated with water from the river, and for years following, the moving waters of the area were used to power mills for grinding flour and other products. But there just had to be more, and so thought local resident H.E. Babcock. Babcock envisioned harnessing the Loup's power with an extensive canal system and reservoir. However, Babcock was met with funding problems, and the project was shelved. It would not be until the Great Depression and the need to create jobs for so many that the idea of such a project would be considered and move forward. On June 16, 1933, not even 100 days into his administration, President Franklin D. Roosevelt of the National Industrial Recovery Act created the Public Works Administration. This, along with the need to electrify rural America, put Mr. Babcock's dream into motion. 3 Columbus businessmen, Phil Hockenberger, Harold Kramer, and C.B. Fricke, knew that bringing electricity to rural Nebraska would not only improve the quality of life for area residents, but would also create jobs.
Well, back in the early 30s, of course, we were in the midst of a depression, and some local businessmen from Platte County got together and resurrected a dream that had been around for quite a while to use the waters of the Loup River to produce electricity. But they were thinking more of producing jobs for the people in the area.
In 1932, Hockenberger, Kramer, and Fricke filed for the water rights to the Loup and Cedar Rivers, as well as the Shell and Beaver Creeks. In 1933, Governor Bryan signed the Enabling Act, which allowed public power districts to organize. Loup became the first public power district in the state of Nebraska. By November of that year, the Loup project was awarded a $7.3 million loan and grant. And so it was that in 1933, work on the Loup Power Canal system began. Excavation began near Genoa, which was the first step toward the canal system we have today. More than 1,000 people went to work for the Loup River Public Power District. During a dark period of our country's history, the communities along the 35-mile Loup River Canal project had hope. They were a hardy bunch. Just like the pioneers who settled the area, they were just as tough and just as smart. And tough they had to be. Some areas of the canal were dug by hand, a shovel at a time, in all climates, blistering heat and frigid cold.
Well, part of the work was done with horses. They were still using horses to dig with and to haul things back in the 30s. Most of it was done with very primitive mechanical equipment, so that even makes the feat all the more remarkable.
Laboring on the canal lifted more than dirt from the earth. It lifted everyone's spirit, created hope for the future, and in some ways, buried a bit of the past. But it wasn't all hand shovels and picks that built what at the time was an engineering marvel. The Monahan crane, a 365-ton machine standing 176 feet tall, walked like a duck and sounded like a freight train. Because of its size, the Monahan crane became the most memorable part of construction for several families in the area who tracked the crew's progress at every turn. It was the largest of 12 cranes that worked on the canal and was one of the largest cranes in existence worldwide. 35 cents an hour was a good wage in those days. The economic benefits of the project were felt throughout the entire region. The district's purchase of farmland saved many agricultural operations by reducing or sometimes completely eliminating mortgages with the sale of only a few acres. Boarding houses and cafes were at capacity, and new businesses related to the project sprung up all over. Not everyone was in favor of the Loup project. When opposition from other power districts in Nebraska created an injunction that held their pay, the Loup bunch just kept on working.
Farmers were able to get a job and they were able to pay their mortgage, and I've heard that some farms were saved because of the wages they earned from building the canal.
Some farmers felt as if they had gotten the raw end of the deal. The canal ran across what was once their land, and guess what? They, the farmers, didn't even have electricity. In 1935, Roosevelt's Rural Electrification Administration changed all that and paved the way for power lines to be built by the Loup Power District, serving over 800 rural customers in Platte County. In 1943, Loup transferred 987 miles of rural distribution lines to the newly organized Cornhusker Rural Public Power District.